Talking Your Money here this morning, he wrote the book on how money works, and today is helping us with financial advice to get us through this pandemic. Expert on mental toughness and financial fitness, Steve Siebold joins us now. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning, Eric.
We're talking about your book, How Money Works. Stop being a sucker. What are people doing to fall into that sucker category? No one wants to be a sucker, Steve.
Well, we're really never taught how money works in school, and really even in college, we're really not taught the basics of personal finance. And as a result, we're victims to the financial industry, which has been ripping off the American public for 150 years.
Yeah, we are kind of just thrown into it, and it's kind of just live and learn and all that. So what do you think some of the biggest financial challenges are for families right now? A lot of families and individuals struggling.
Well, I think mortgage payments, evictions obviously are a big thing, and that's why we recommend, negotiating. Call up if you're in trouble, with your rent or your mortgage, call up your creditors, the lenders, the landlord, whoever it is, and try to negotiate your way out of being evicted, because we're about to see mass evictions, most likely like we've never seen before in this country since the Great Depression. And so you can negotiate your way out of these things many times if you'll make the phone call.
Yeah, and that's the thing, be the squeaky wheel, right? I mean, and it's not just the mortgage payment, but I mean, all your bills, right? Go through all of them if you're struggling and see if there's anything that can be done, the cable bill, any other expenses that you might have. Now's the time to make that call, right?
Absolutely. Car payments, anything. Everything is negotiable, especially with credit and creditors, because and a lot of people, I think, don't know that. But if they pick up the phone and a lot of times, organizations will be very helpful, and especially during a shutdown, during a pandemic, which none of us have ever experienced before. So it's a really strategic move, a really good move.
So everyone's been affected in this by some way, if not job loss, maybe loss in pay or waiting for unemployment, which has been a struggle in of itself, right? So for people that have been living with this for months, what advice do you have for people that are literally like running out of funds? Maybe they've already made those calls, but the bank account's really dwindling. How can you help those folks with your advice?
Well, I would say one thing you can do is inventory your assets. Take inventory of things you own that you no longer use, and put them on eBay, put them on the internet, and sell those things out. And hoard your cash. Make sure you keep your cash. Spend on credit. Keep your cash. Because the cash is king. You're going to need cash. You may need cash to buy food. This pandemic is nowhere near over. Where a lot of people are listening, I think, to politicians play games, but the science says it's not over. It may just be beginning. So we don't know how long this is going to go, and you're going to need cash. You were talking about the politicians. That leads right into my next question. You say we should not be relying on the government for help. Do not be relying on these stimulus payments. I mean, look at the second one here. We still haven't figured that one out, right? Yeah, exactly. We can't count on the government. They're playing politics, as they always do, both sides of the aisle. I mean, they're both guilty. You see what's going on with the new stimulus. This may never happen. They're more worried about getting elected than they are about helping people. I think many times with with evictions and people really suffering out in the real world, and it's too bad. So you can't rely on the government. So what do we do for planning next year? There's talk of maybe a second round of coronavirus here. How can we prepare now if that should happen? I think be very conservative financially. That's why I would hoard cash. I would keep cash. I would sell assets off. I would stay away from any large purchases whatsoever. Stock up on things you need, because again, if this hits really in a bigger way than it has in the past, there could be a lot of people in a lot of trouble. Yeah, Steve, we hope that's not the case, but nonetheless, we got to prepare for the worst here just in case. Steve, thanks for your time this morning. Where can people learn more? Where can we take a look at your book? You can read the How Money Works book at Amazon.com. That's the easiest way. Always appreciate your time, Steve. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, just in case the second round comes. I mean, we've all got to prepare. No one ever thought that this first round could ever happen, that this pandemic happened, but it is here. We know how it all works. We know it's big impact. In fact, I don't even think we've seen the full fallout from the first time. Right. So it's time to get ready. It was an interesting perspective to hear from him say, hoard your cash, so use your credit cards instead, because we're of the mindset that, only buy what you can afford, right? And then don't put it on credit because, of course, there's interest. Exactly. But according to him, like, let's say if you do need to make a big purchase, apparently it's worth it to just put it on your credit card. Sure, and look around, too. I mean, if times are tough, I mean, the other day in the garage, I realized I had a bunch of flooring, like laminate, that I had just stacked up and I'm not going to use. Right. Put that on eBay, right? I mean, try to sell it, which I did. I took some pictures and I'm like, you know what? I could
could use a couple $100 right now. I'll
Totally.
put it out there.
Makes a good point,
So
yeah.
that's what he's saying. Look around at your stuff and make some good decisions here.
Apparently, this is far from over.
Right.
The San Diego Union High School District has voted in favor of a reopening plan. For now, students will continue with distance learning, but the goal is to get middle school students back on campus 1 day a week by November 9th and 2